Why do we continue to give God the least amount of effort in our lives? We spend so much time going to the gym, talking on the phone, scrolling on social media, watching TV, and yet we give God the bare minimum. And then we wonder why we don't know Him, or we don't know His promises, or we don't know what He wants to do in our lives. Well, God is expecting more from us. He's expecting us to wake up in the morning and pray. He's expecting us to study our word. He's expecting us to put in the effort that it takes to intentionally get to know Him. Now, if you're building a relationship with anybody in your life, you know that it takes effort, it takes time, it takes intentionality. It takes both of you being so serious about wanting to know each other that you make time for each other. You have date nights, you schedule just time away for yourselves, and yet we don't schedule date nights with God. Every night you should spend time in God's word. Every morning you should spend time in God's word. How can you know your Father if you never spend time in His presence? So I'm asking you today, like, how much time and effort have you put into God today? If you can't say that you've taken the time to read your word and spend at least 15 minutes meditating on it, or if you can't say that you said a prayer longer than 5 seconds, then maybe you haven't put enough time into God. So do a self assessment and ask yourself, is this the type of relationship that I would want? If someone was pursuing me, or if my husband or my wife was giving me the amount of time that I am giving God, would I be happy? And I think a lot of times we would be able to say, no, we're not happy, because God is worth more than 5 minutes of your time. God is worth more than 10 minutes of your time. We shouldn't wait until things go wrong to start spending time with God. We need to spend time with God before we get to that point. We need to spend time with God on a continuous basis, not just when we go to church on Sundays. Going to church on Sundays is not good enough. Yes, you're getting the word. Yes, you're praising Him. Yes, you're worshiping Him. But that's just one day out the week. That's maybe 2 hours out of a week. When we spend 40 hours at work every week, and yet we only give God maybe about, let's say, 15 minutes a day. That's what, 30 minutes every 2 days. So about 3.5 hours a week. That's not enough. But we want blessings from God. We want God to answer our prayers. We want God to open doors. We want so much from God. And yet we're not spending time in His presence, getting to know Him and listening to what He is telling us. So I just encourage you guys to spend time in God's presence. Take the time to know God. Take the time to reverence God. Take the time to fast so that you can hear God, and stop making excuses for why you don't have time to spend with God. Yes, we only have 24 hours in a day, but you're not using all 24 hours working. Maybe 8 hours, maybe an hour back and forth to work. But what are you doing with your other time? If you feel like you don't have enough time, then try getting up 30 minutes earlier in the morning. Try spending that extra 30 minutes getting to know God and asking God, how does He want to direct and guide your day? See, when we put time and effort into God, He will give us the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that we need to do the things that we're trying to accomplish. A lot of times we're not able to accomplish things is because we're not putting effort into hearing from God and hearing what His plans are. Sometimes we wasted a lot of energy on things that God hasn't even called us to do. But if we get intentional about spending time with God in the morning, He can tell you what it is that He wants you to do and how He wants you to do it. It's the little things that make a difference in your relationship and in your walk. And when you're obedient to what God is calling you to do, then you'll be able to do it with ease, because He's already given you the plans, because you've already sat down and heard from Him. So stop wasting time. Stop giving God the bare minimum, and give God what he deserves, which is a lot more than what you've been giving him. And if you say, well, I feel like I'm giving God enough, give him a little bit more. It never hurts to give God more than what you've already given him. You wouldn't be mad if somebody gave you an extra present on top of the other present they already gave you. You would be happy about that. You would feel like this person really loves you and cares about you. Well, if we assess our relationship with God, does God feel like we love him? Does he feel like we care about him? Or does he feel like we just want to be around him and get him to do things for us because that's what we think he is? But God is not our genie. We can't just get granted 3 wishes and things happen just like that. No, it takes time, effort, and getting to truly spend time in his presence, getting to know him, and being intentional about their relationship. So be intentional about your relationship with God, and I guarantee you it would transform your life so much. So continue to just check in, listen to these videos, and hear what God is saying to you.